Hi, Pastor Rachel here. I'm coming to you today because I've noticed that there are a lot of people who are trying out church for the first time since we've gone online. And I want to discuss with you something that is very important to know about getting involved with a local church. So I put together a quick presentation on basically church expenses and to invite you into how you can share in our ministry together. So, if you're new to the church world, I want to answer a very important set of questions for you, which is why give? If you are new to church and you are thinking about contributing to a church, I'd like to take this opportunity to answer some of the questions that have probably been on your mind. The first question that I'd like to address is this one that is kind of an elephant in the room. And that is the idea that churches are these big, powerful, rich, and politically active entities. While there are some churches out there that indeed have a lot of power and money, the average American church really doesn't. So American churches vary a lot in size and wealth. In the United States, there are roughly 350,000 congregations. And of those, 59% have under 100 in membership. Beyond that, another 35% have 100 to 500 in membership. Now, the definition of a megachurch is any church that has over 500 in membership. And you can see that in reality, very few of those 350,000 actually meet that description. Even within all of those congregations, the average attendance in a church is about 75 per Sunday. And that average includes churches where you have membership and attendance like you see in the picture that is on the slide. The other thing you should know is that the average church budget is right around $175,000. That sounds like a lot of money to the average household, but when it comes to running an entity as big as a church, which can be comparable to a small school, it's really quite a small budget. And I want to thank the Hartford Institute for Religion Research and the Pacific Northwest United Methodist Conference for posting some of the data in this presentation. Okay, so if most churches are not mega churches, what about most pastors? Some people are under the impression that pastors are relatively wealthy, or that all of the money that goes into the plate goes to the pastor. Well, generally, pastoral education, that is the education that is required to enter the field, and the income that comes with it are generally mismatched. In the mainline denominations, entry to the pastorate is generally a master's degree. And it's usually a very long, intensive master's degree, about 60 credit hours and some practical applied work within that. Yet, mainline Protestant churches, especially the small ones, tend to pay an average of $31,000 a year for full-time ministry. Then, larger churches within that sometimes pay $86,000 in a total package. So, within the Catholic Church, there are some differences there too. They have a very different system, and the average clergy salary for them is $21,000 to $27,000. Clergy are by no means, on average, wealthy. It's generally accepted that that pastors should have salaries that are on parity with teachers. But in reality, that doesn't really happen because of the size of church budgets. And you've probably heard the argument that churches should at least pay taxes. I see these memes all of the time on social media. Tax the churches, and then they'll show something that is this very, very large mega church and accuse them of not doing much of anything. But what you should know about that is that churches are classified as 501c3 entities in the US tax code. They are public charities. Now, you might not understand why they are public charities, so I thought I'd explain some of what it is that we do. Most churches in the United States contribute to food banks, soup kitchens, community emergency aid programs. They have clothing programs and more. Many of them sponsor them directly out of their church buildings. They also provide pastoral care and counseling as part of their jobs and missions. Many churches contribute education programs such as tutoring, after school, preschool, and other similar programs. They also serve as a community meeting house for the Scouts, AA, and many, many other nonprofit organizations. And even with that, many churches contribute pilots to their communities. A pilot is an abbreviation that means payment in lieu of taxes. Many of us recognize that we benefit from the public services, so we pay a little to support them. So you may be asking yourself, if the pastor isn't getting all of that money that is collected for the church budget, where does it go? Well, the church budget generally supports other staff, sometimes full-time, that's in Christian education, the secretary, musicians, cleaning. There are many other staff people who are supported within a church budget. It also goes to maintenance of the physical plant. Those of us who have big aging buildings often have to do a lot of upkeep. Sometimes we're even seeking to green up our physical plants that were designed for a age when energy use was quite different than it is today. And we have bills, just like your household. We have to heat the place, we have to keep the electricity on. We have the water bill, we have the sewer bill, among many other things. And we have insurance that we have to keep. We have liability insurance. We have to have insurance on any of the activities that go in around the church. So we have to be careful about that. But what we're generally passionate about when it comes to giving is our missions. We seek to support missions and more missions. And I realize you might think that mission is kind of a strange word. We hear it used in different ways to mean like a mission statement around a business and things like that. But for missions in the church, missions tend to be very practical, applied things. So what I mean when I say the word missions is some of the services that we mentioned on the earlier slides that are local and relevant to the community, like food, aid, and housing support. Providing building space for education programs and community meetings, among some other things. And then many churches support national and regional denomination ministries. These often go to things like emergency relief, like hurricane, tornado, and flooding aid. They go to reaching out to children at risk within our communities around the United States, prisoner re-entry training, immigration and refugee resettling, and much, much more. There's actually too much to list on a good PowerPoint slide. And then we have our international denominational ministries. These, sometimes there's a little bit of colonial nature associated to the word international ministries. But in this day and age, churches really seek to do mission with rather than mission to people in other countries. And mission with people in other countries tends to look like medical supplies, providing medical supplies and medical missionaries, that is doctors who go under the call of the church to nations where there's a shortage. There's international sex trafficking and abuse ministries that happen, education missions, justice and peace work that happens around the world, and much, much more. So I realize that I'm coming to you in a very strange time, and that for many of you, you're just trying out churches for the first time because they're available on YouTube now, and you can see a big variety without having to be greeted at the door and asked a whole bunch of questions and all of that. This is a really low risk way to check out what's going on with churches. So before you think that I'm asking you to contribute a full-blown tithe and commit to giving to a church for giving a lot of money to the church for many years, I want to encourage you to start small. If you have a little bit of extra that you can spare that will help us keep the lights on, I would very much appreciate you considering that. And recognizing that when you're supporting a church, you're supporting a local business, and you're supporting a local business that is intertwined with other local businesses, and that you're often supporting local people through that business by the various food banks, shelter programs, etc. And your money is also stretched so that you have a global impact through the money that we wind up giving to international ministries. And knowing that we're in hard times, I want you to keep in mind that if you don't have it right now, we are still here for you. We understand. There are many, many people out of work. There are many people who would give if they weren't so uncertain about the future. You are to have absolutely no guilt about this if you're in that situation. In fact, if you are in that situation, please consider connecting with your local church for help. And if you are blessed enough that you're really doing okay right now, it can't hurt to try. So if you can contribute a little bit a week to help keep the lights on, help keep the streaming going, help keep people fed in your community, we would really, really appreciate it. I thank you for your time and listening to this today. I hope that you've learned something about church finances and why we're worth supporting. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me via this webpage. I'm at Second Baptist Church in Suffield, Connecticut, if you have any questions. Have a great day.